Hi, Mohammed. Nice to see this new set of essays from you. Great job. Let's see what you wrote here. Extended business hours. Okay. In certain countries, the extension of working hours by the shopkeepers on a daily basis is a positive step. Okay, you know what? You didn't even need to write by the shopkeepers. It doesn't help the sentence. It just kind of makes it a little heavier. So I would have gotten rid of that and just let the sentence read, in certain countries, the extension of working hours on a daily basis is a positive step. I totally support the strategy, but who is they? They will have to closely monitor the potential inflows and outflows to be commercially feasible in the long run. I'll explain my stance by taking into something of better revenue generation opportunities. I don't know, taking into account, maybe that's what you mean. I'll explain my stance by taking into account better revenue generation opportunities for shopkeepers, crime rate reduction for society at large, and additional energy consumption by shops. Okay. I don't really think you needed to write all of this. I mean, it's okay, but I would have preferred you spend less time on your introduction and a little more time on your body paragraphs. Generally, I want, not just you, but I want all students to remember that what you really want to focus on and what really helps you improve your task achievement score is really focusing on developing the body of the essay and not so much the introduction. The introduction certainly has a role to play, but you don't need to saddle it with a lot of information or a lot of words or a lot of lines or whatever. So I would have reduced this a little bit. As long as you rephrase the information in the prompt and then you answer whatever the command is here, that's really what your introduction needs to be. So I would have preferred something a little more bare bones, and then a little more focus here. And the reason why I say that is because if you look, the first body paragraph is the same length as the introduction. So for me, that's not a great sign. I want to see more development of the body and less of the introduction, okay? All right, let's move on. On one hand, this step will serve the local community at the 11th hour, comma, in return boasting revenue for shops. Get rid of the. Simultaneously, okay, so what does that mean? That's something I want you to explain here. So this is something you could have developed. So you say it will serve the community at the 11th hour. The question I want to ask is, how does it serve them? Why does it serve them? What do you mean? Okay, so whenever I read a paragraph, I shouldn't have questions like that. You know that it's well developed if I don't have to ask why or how, or even better yet, after each of your main ideas, ask yourself why or how, and then go about answering the question. Okay? So, simultaneously could be a useful tool to curb the street crimes, as shops will be open with their lights, comma, brightening up the street even when it is, not it's, we don't write contractions in IELTS essays, when it is dark around and fewer, not less people are walking around. A recent report by the police department indicates that the busy markets have resulted in the reduction of street crimes without the by 35%. Okay, so that's fine. I think I was pretty clear about which part of this paragraph needed a little more development. You essentially needed to get into more detail here, so let's move on. It's not one, it's on the other hand. So on the other hand, energy consumption will increase due to excessive usage at night. And ultimately, comma, shopkeepers have to bear the additional charges to keep their shops running at night. Okay, that's a little bit too much at night. And obviously I had to correct it. So why don't you just say in the evening hours or later into the evening? So find some sort of alternative way of saying this to show some range of your vocabulary. A recent study conducted by the Electricity Department demonstrates the increase in consumption of electricity by 30%. Demonstrates an increase in consumption of electricity by 30% in the areas where shops are open till midnight. Additionally, few shops, comma, for example, jewelers, comma, might need to employ more security personnel to protect the premises from uncalled robbery. What is an uncalled robbery? Due to odd working hours, resulting in higher variable costs for the shops. Let me see if I understand that sentence. I don't think you mean few shops. I think you mean some. I think you mean a positive number here, meaning like multiple. Because few, just few on its own, means almost none. So I don't think that's what you mean. All right, so let's try it again. So some shops, for example, jewelers, might need to employ more security personnel to protect the premises from robbery. I don't know about this due to odd working hours, resulting in higher variable costs. Okay, therefore, in other words, the gains they make from the increased revenue is offset, or rather are offset by the extra costs to protect their store. I think that's what your point is. I would have liked you to make that connection, okay? To summarize, additional hours result in general, not resulted in more sales for the shops due to extra business activity. Corresponding costs are essential to keep the shops open. Shopkeepers have to analyze the revenue and cost structure to be feasible in commercial terms and to perpetuate their innovative business approach. Okay, so all in all, this essay is fine. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. It develops the topic. It talks about both sides of the topic. It you clearly put your position here in the first in the first introduction, in the first paragraph, that is the introduction. So all of that is fine. I told you a couple of places where I thought that it could have been a little better developed. For me, one thing I would like to see is maybe some higher level collocations. I thought that some of your language was a little informal. Let me see if I can pinpoint a couple of places where I thought it was a little informal. For this, okay, for example, I totally support. We talk like this, but I don't know how appropriate it is in an academic essay. So I completely support this strategy. It sounds a little bit more formal. Here, with their lights brightening up the streets, also, it just feels a little not academic. Even this, like when people are walking around, it just doesn't have the academic tone that all IELTS essays really need to have. So that's one thing I would like to see change. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, what would be academic sounding language? Let's see. Simultaneously, it could be a useful tool to curb street crimes, as shops will be open, therefore, streets and shops will be better lit, let's see, and more people will be, you could say, and the streets will be less desolate as more people will be out shopping or something like that. So just some of this, like walking around and brightening up the streets, it just feels a little conversational. I want the level to be a little more academic. Let's see, this till felt a little informal. I can't speak tonight, sorry. Informal as well. You probably wanted until, which sounds a little more formal. Let's see. You kept missing the prepositions here. It should be at night. I didn't understand this sentence here, the uncalled robbery. So it was fine, but there were some things that I thought could have been improved a little bit more. So some of that grammar, some of that coherence, and then some of the vocabulary I just wanted a little more academic sounding, okay? But like I said, it's absolutely acceptable. It's a nice essay. You did everything you're supposed to do. Now we're just really working on some of these details to get you to a higher level. Okay, let's take a look at your task 1. Okay, this is a terrible restaurant experience, so here's what you said. Dear Sir, Madam, I'm writing this letter in connection with an unfortunate experience which we had last night at your restaurant. For your information, my name is Mohammed Afzal, and I have been your regular customer for over a year now, as I always enjoy the food and ambiance, spelled wrong, ambiance. Last night, I visited your restaurant along with my family and friends, for which table reservations were done a week ago. Table reservations were made a week ago. Firstly, as we had to wait for over 30 minutes before... that's not grammatically correct. Firstly, we had to wait over 30 minutes before the reserved table was made available to us. Secondly, even though it was clearly communicated at the time of booking that we will be accompanying 3 children. No, okay, grammatically you've got a problem here. Let's fix it. All right. All right. Secondly, even though it was clearly communicated at the time of booking that we will be accompanied by 3 children, comma, baby chairs were not provided. That's all. Finally, I had vegetarian guests. For whom I especially ordered. I had vegetarian guests for whom special orders were placed, but restaurant staff turned a deaf ear to this requirement, and it was extremely embarrassing for me and my family. I hope that we will conduct a thorough inquiry. As you can imagine, that such poor service was the last thing on my mind before making the booking. A responsible steward or host, we usually call them, must account for his or her actions which prompted a bad experience for us. Lastly, I request the full refund and official apology from the inept manager for ruining the planned dinner and causing awful embarrassment to us in front of guests. Okay, that's fine. You said yours faithfully, but I really wanted some sort of closing here. I mean, it kind of finishes abruptly, and it did need some sort of closing. I look forward to receiving your response to this matter, or I will follow up in several days. I mean, some sort of last sentence here. You said that you want a refund, and that's it. You just close the letter off, but that's not really right. So you want some sort of closing statement here. Okay, I look forward to your reply and discussing with you how this refund can be processed. Okay, something. So you need some sort of closing statement here. It really ends rather abruptly. So, Mohammed, a nice job, but there's still some work we have to do to improve your writing just a little bit, just getting kind of the details squared away. All right, so that's what I want you to work on a little bit. Go ahead and correct these essays, return them back to us corrected, and let's see another set from you. Good luck.